You actually think you're making your own decisions, that you chose your habits, your routines, your goals, your reactions, your life. But if that's true, why do you keep ending up in the same place? The same distractions, same excuses, same habits, same results. You tell yourself you're gonna change, but somehow your days keep pulling you back into the same pattern. And that's the part you need to pay attention to. Because if you've never stopped to question what's running you, then there's a good chance your life, it's being shaped by something you didn't consciously choose. And I know this for a fact because I used to think I was in control too, until I started looking at what I was actually doing every single day and realized most of my life was running on autopilot. Since that day, I've been learning how to build my life from conscious choices instead of unconscious patterns. And in this video, I'm gonna show you what's secretly controlling your decisions, why it keeps creating the same results, and how to finally make the unconscious pattern conscious so you can actually start building the life you want. So lock in. Your hero's journey begins now. Now, to understand what's really controlling your decisions, you first have to look at the pattern behind them. Because most of your life isn't created by the big choices you make once in a while. It's created by the small choices you repeat every single day. And because most of those choices are so small, they happen before you even realize you're making them. These are the choices that you don't notice yourself making every single day. And honestly, if you've never taken the time to do an exercise like this, you might even be a little freaked out at how often you've been doing these things without even realizing it. I'm talking about things like reaching for your phone automatically when you wake up, knowing that you have to do a hard task, but then suddenly switching to social media or watching a show or calling that person just to procrastinate 10 minutes longer. Ultimately, whatever this unconscious choice is, it really comes down to a habit of defaulting to comfort when any sense of pressure shows up. And if you have this habit, it's going to show up every single day of your life. Just like how habits have a pattern, your day has a pattern. And if you really look into your days, you're going to start to recognize that you have the same morning behaviors, the same distractions during the day, the same emotional reactions when things get difficult. And because of this repetition you've unconsciously formed, these unconscious habits have now become the direction in your life. And this direction is really just repeated distractions that are pulling you in the opposite direction from what you really want and continuing to give you scattered results. This is why you feel like your life hasn't moved any further, because repeated distractions create stagnation that lowers your standards and creates the life you keep complaining about. And the reason you haven't noticed this until now is because this is where most people get it completely wrong. They think their life changes when they make one big decision. But your life is usually shaped by the pattern you keep repeating when you're not paying attention, because that pattern becomes your normal. And once something becomes normal, you stop questioning it. You stop asking where it came from. You stop asking whether you chose it. And that's where this gets uncomfortable. Because if you never chose this pattern, then who did? Really ask yourself, where did this pattern come from? Because the answer is usually not as personal as you might think. And if you're like 99% of people, these are just patterns you inherited from your family, your friends, your society, the environment you grew up in. These can show up as habits, beliefs, expectations, perspectives, which all come together to form a mindset and a feeling of this is normal. Through repetition, these were all programmed into you because these were what you saw growing up as normal. And because you had no reason to question them, you copied all of this without even realizing it. These are the unconscious patterns that you didn't pick, but are controlling you. These are the patterns society gave you. But it's not just this, because not only did society give you these patterns, your society continually reinforces these patterns. Through your friends, your social circles, your family, your job, social media. It's everywhere. And without you even realizing it, you created a life around what was programmed into you growing up. This is why everything you do brings you back to the same place, even though you want to change. And once you're really able to see this clearly, you're gonna start to realize something most people never want to admit. Because a lot of what you call your personality is actually just unconscious programming that you didn't even pick. The way you react, the things you avoid, the goals you chase, the habits you repeat. Of course, some of it may be yours, but a lot of it was handed to you before you even had the awareness to question it. And if you don't question it, you have no choice but to keep living from it. This is how you end up repeating the same life over and over and over again, without understanding why nothing is ever changing. By the way, if you're tired of doing this alone, and instead of just watching transformation, you're finally ready to experience it, take the next step with my free ebook, Your Hero's Journey. It'll show you exactly which stage of the journey you're in and how to rise to the next one. And if you want personal guidance, you can always book a private session with me as well. You can find both links below this video. Once you recognize this is where your pattern should start becoming obvious. Because once you keep living from something you never questioned, you don't just repeat the same habits, you repeat the same life. Because when you do the same things over and over and over again, you're gonna get the same actions over and over and over again. When you consume the same content, when you stay in the same environment, when you react the same way under pressure, how can you expect to get anything new? How can you want change without changing the actual pattern that's bringing it about? And I know you know exactly what I'm talking about. When you set those goals you want to achieve in the future while keeping the same daily routine. When you try to force yourself to be more disciplined without changing the things you do every single day. This is why nothing seems to move for you. Because your habits keep pulling you backwards. Your environment keeps reinforcing the old version of you. And your unconscious patterns keep overpowering your conscious intentions. And this is why change can feel so frustrating, because you can want more. You can know you're capable of more. You can even tell yourself, this time it's going to be different. But if the pattern underneath stays the same, eventually it's just going to pull you back into the same distractions, the same excuses, the same habits, the same results. And that's when you start realizing the issue was never that you didn't want change badly enough. The issue was that your unconscious pattern was stronger than your conscious desire. Now that you know this is where you have the opportunity to take your power back. Because once you can really see the pattern for what it is, you don't have to keep living inside of it. You can start choosing what stays, what goes, and what needs to be rebuilt. And you do this through awareness, by making your unconscious patterns conscious. And you can easily do this by observing what you actually do every single day. After this video, take the time to identify which patterns are creating your current results. And then from that point, start to decide what you no longer want to belong in your life. These are the habits you'll recognize that are keeping you stuck. These are the beliefs and thought patterns you inherited but never chose. These are the routines that reinforce the version of you you're trying to outgrow. And by removing these things that are holding you back, you can start to build a new pattern built on purpose that's actually designed to get you the results you want. From this point, you're going to start creating routines that actually match the life you want. And based on those routines, you need to start consciously surrounding yourself with an environment that will help push you towards the man you're trying to become. And once you do this, all you really have to do is just repeat those actions until they become your new normal. Obviously, this is a simplified version of the process, and it's not going to be easy. But the more you do it, the easier it gets. And this is ultimately the exact process I had to go through to change who I am. Because my life used to be filled with terrible habits, terrible thought patterns, and terrible beliefs. But now I'm at a point where I flipped almost everything. And now, without even thinking about it, I do things to help uplift my life instead of hurting my life. This is why I'm really stressing that you don't change your life by wishing harder. You change your life by changing the pattern that keeps recreating it. Because once you can see what's been running you, you can finally decide whether that pattern deserves to stay. And that's the real shift. You stop living from defaults. You stop reacting to programming. You stop building a life from unconscious habits you never even chose. And you start becoming the man who's building his own direction. That's when your routines stop being random and your life starts becoming something you consciously build. Now, if you want to know more about consciously building your life, your hero's journey continues here.